Welcome to the Vital Path podcast, where nervous system science meets spiritual growth through honest conversations with men who've done the work. On this very special episode of the Vital Path podcast, today we have on Sam Kukathas, who is a visionary sound healer, and he gives us a 20-minute experience he normally offers to his multi-million-dollar business clients. And I guarantee you have never heard anything like this before. So the invitation here is to be open, curious, and notice what comes alive in you. Welcome to another episode of the Vital Path podcast. Today, I'm honored to have my brother, my adventure buddy from Antarctica, Sam Kukathas. This man is the founder of Soul Purpose Leaders and Resonance OS, which is a conscious technology platform that restores nervous system coherence and activates peak performance in just 15 minutes a day. I've had the pleasure of a sneak peek of Resonance OS, and I'm excited to share more with you guys about that soon. He has a trademark process called Neuro-Resonance Optimization, and it is a transformational technology designed to activate latent potential and dissolve time between vision and embodied results. Sam, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Wow, mate. What an introduction. I appreciate you so much. It is an absolute joy to be here today. Thank you for having me.
It's a gift, man. And beyond all of the resume, I just know you to be such a heart-centered leader who has a passion for impacting billions. And that's right, you heard it, billions. This man has a huge vision, and I'm excited for you all to get to know this man. So where else do we start but how we met in Antarctica, man? It was such a profound shift in my personal timeline. So I'd love to start there and just what that experience meant for you, how you found yourself in Antarctica, and just tell the people what that was like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to touch on that and also touch on like how we actually met in Antarctica, because it was an interesting experience and moment for me, and it just speaks to who Andrew is for me. So a good friend of mine, Alok Kapadarai, who has a company called Uplift Millions, I was doing an episode, a podcast or something like that with him, and we hadn't even started recording, but I must have said something which triggered something, and he was like, if there was an opportunity to go to Antarctica in March, and it's already March, to be with 130 leaders who are out to shift the vibration of the planet, would you want to come? I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, I can't promise anything, but I'll reach out to my friend who's one of the co-organizers and see if there's a space. And then like literally the next day, he's like, haven't told Sam anything, but he wants to come. Send me the prices. I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. Put the money down. And then the next 10 days, I was like, okay, I'm now in Buenos Aires. And then from there, you get on the plane to, can't even think of the Ushuaia.
Ushuaia.
And then, you're on the ship, and you're on the ship for 10 days, and you get to go through the Drake Passage, which, if you don't know it, is a notoriously rough passage of sea. And I did not realize that how rough it was going to be. And I didn't bring any kind of seasick medicine or whatnot. And that first night I'd had a good time. And the next morning we were in the Drake, and I had to leave one of the, what was it called? Like someone was doing a presentation in the lecture theater. I was feeling a little bit queasy. I thought I was fine. Got up to get some breakfast, realized I wasn't. And this man was the person who showed up in that moment and was basically just like, oh man, like, what can we do? How can we help? And Andrew and another friend, Javed, basically got me some seasick medicine. And from that moment on, we were brothers, because like he was there for me in that really vulnerable time. And I appreciate you, man.
The pleasure was all mine. Who knew that would come into handy? The Drake's Passage, if y'all don't know, is some of the most treacherous water on the planet, and very understandable that one would get seasick on that. But it was a gift to be able to support you in that moment, and really blossomed an incredible friendship. So I'm grateful for just the journey. Similarly, for me to get on that boat, it was very similar to what I heard from you. I got this last minute invitation from Andrew to go to Antarctica. And if I hadn't traveled the world with him in 2019, I would have had zero idea that this was real. I thought it would have been some, spam email. And all of a sudden, we're on this boat with hundreds of other leaders from across the world. And that type of environment, just surrounding myself with that caliber of people, opened up, so much. And I didn't get the chance to know you prior to that, but when we met, you had such clarity that you were coming in to impact. And it felt like it locked in based upon that intention. And ever since, it's just been this upward trajectory for you. So I'd love to hear about perhaps how you came to choosing that intention and what it's been like to hold that vision for yourself and for others in the way that you serve.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful question. So I think for me, like it's a philosophy of acting on what I see. And I see Antarctica, that was a moment where everything changed because I stepped into a new realm and a new realm of the kinds of leaders that I was going to work with from that moment on. I'd had some chances to work with some great people, but this was a room or a ship, if you like, full of people who've been extraordinarily successful. Some of them had $1 billion companies. Some of them had exited, multi-$100 million companies. And they were just incredible human beings who are really all out there to uplift the vibration of the planet. And so I was like, well, if that's the case, like this is the work I do. I want to see how I can impact as many people, if not everyone on the ship. And I managed to do, 30 or 40 people. And I went in with one person knowing me with a Alok, and he only knew me a little bit. And by the end, I actually got myself on the final day of the program. I did do something which would mess it up, but which was all perfect. But I went from being entirely unknown to being on the program, which was just coming from that space of this is the commitment, this is the context, this like why are we here? Like if we're going to be in this space in a place of such pristine beauty and the nature like it is transformative in itself, then we want to make the most of it every moment. And that's what drew me in. My roommate, I remember he was dealing with some allergies on the first day. And I was just like, oh man, like, do you want to just deal with that naturally? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I just asked him to sit down on the bed and I just took him through a journey, which just basically cleared the source of where those allergies were coming from. And then he didn't need to take the allergy medicine. And then as a consequence, like my voice through the sound frequencies that I bring forth, like rippled through the hallways of the ship. So then people started to hear that. And then people just started to like organically find out more about me. And then I just kind of allowed more opportunities to create from there.
It takes courage to do that, to lean into these gifts. And we'll get to experience some of Sam's magic here shortly. And it's got to take courage to go from an academic, a full PhD. I mean, we're talking about one side of the spectrum of reality, all the way through to call it channeling, call it sound healing, call it whatever you want. We'll get to experience this shortly, but how was that transition for you? Maybe this is an opportunity to share a little bit about your story before we go back into the experience and just let people know where you were beforehand and now to where you are today.
Absolutely. So I was an academic. I had been studying grad school for a very long time. And in 2017 was when I submitted my doctorate in law and I didn't receive it. And by that time, I was already in a space where I really didn't like myself. Like my mental health was suffering, at the worst point. It was like suicidal ideation. I remember being out on the balcony my dad's apartment in London and just thinking about jumping off because it's like, well, I feel so much shame, so much sense of failure, so much of like, I'm just not fulfilling the potential I know is there. And it wouldn't just be easier. And in that moment, I remembered a friend of mine whose brother had committed suicide. And that actually was what sparked me to go back inside in that moment. And then I went on a personal development journey, which allowed me to kind of reconnected with myself and reconnected with that light. Um, Initially, it led me to go, I'm going to rewrite the PhD from scratch, which was kind of a wild thing. But it started to bring me into a new realm. Like I was writing on the human condition to understand law. And suddenly I was like, whoa, I've just been looking at all of what's wrong with humanity and seeing like why law doesn't work and all the motivational problems and how it could work. But suddenly I had a new lens to look at it, which is actually the lens which was much more aligned with who I truly was. And I started to bring that into the fold of what I was creating. And I started to become a possibilitarian, if you like, in terms of my being. And then from there was this kind of interesting shift from the Sam who didn't want to be a leader because he didn't think he associated leadership with politics to being someone who really loved standing in leadership and become a transformational leader, and went from being a coach, so still in the more cognitive space, to being an energy healer, to working with breath with energy, to eventually creating Neuro-Resonance Optimization.
That's journey and transition is so inspiring. And what really stood out to me was this contrast of focusing on what's not working to, let's say, yes to the good, to the truth, to our human potential. And I'm willing to bet, knowing anything about the spiritual journey, that there was a lot of resistance, both perhaps internally, but also met from relationships or society. And there's a lot of folks that may be listening to this who have a dream, who have a vision for more, and yet there's resistance from their normal environment. So could you help let people in a little bit about how that transition went, going from just a heavy academic platform to all the way to who you are today?
When I started the coaching business was called the Philosophical Coach because I was a philosopher, right? I was looking at it from this more academic lens. And then I just happened to, one of the talents that I developed when I was an academic was I was, without knowing, was very handy when it came to coaching, because I used to look at language patterns of the philosopher David Hume at his database. And it was like 50 years of his work. And I would basically be looking across time at what was Hume saying at this particular point in time, what was he saying this particular point in time about this use of word. So if I look up the word cause, I can see every usage of the term cause across time, and I can track what's the pattern. And I'd started to see patterns in language, and I'd look at hundreds of different kinds of terms. And so when I became a coach, that actually became like, oh, just get to the source of it, right? Get to the cause of where things are. So I could look at language patterns within people and start to see like what's actually at the source of things. And so that was a very natural transition, essentially, I think, because it was just coming from a space of joy and making a difference, which I'd done for a long time as a teacher, right? But this was a different way to make a difference. And I think I remember the very first time I ever coached someone was a good friend of mine in a leadership program. And he was just like, okay, that was impactful. And so seeing that gave me the confidence to then step into the realm of creating a business during the pandemic. And then eventually, I worked in an unusual consulting environment, which really just took my kind of leadership to a different level. But once I left that, it was really a psychedelic journey, which opened up something much bigger. And that's when this expansion of what I really saw possible came through. Like I had a vision and a mission at that stage. Like I want to transform politics. I want to disappear depression and anxiety in society because that's what I'd already done for myself and reverse engineered for others. But it was a small vision compared to what it was now, or what it is now, right? But seeing that initial kind of message and experiencing this new energy which wanted to kind of birth through me in that journey, that medicine journey, really had me go, I'm just going to follow the leads, right? Like I'm getting messages which I'm doing snow angel equivalent on the floor saying I'm here to heal all the bullshit in the world 50 times over. I'm not going to just imagine that that's there for no reason. I'm going to take it and listen and like, oh, maybe I'm a healer. So literally within a week, I was in a healing, I'd signed up for a healing certification from a person that was in my journey, right? That I was coaching in my journey, in my awareness. And suddenly I get an email from them saying like, hey, you've done some of our programs. We want to give you this certification program for free. And I'm like, I'd want to do that a year before. And now this is showing in, right? Like crazy shit happened in that journey, which happened in reality. Like I'd got a cease and desist from a company that I did some work with. And at the time it was like, oh my God, right? Like And I'd coached them on the litigious nature of their bullshit in that journey. And then, I literally got it that 4 months later or whatever it was. And so like all these things, they weren't just like, oh, this is just a nice spiritual experience. Like this is what showed up in my material reality, right? So it's nothing, no accidents here, right? And then when I stepped into that training, certification, whatever you want to call it, on the second day, I started channeling. Didn't know what on earth channeling was, but I started to speak from a different voice. And I said to the guy who was leading the program, who I'd seen and coached in the medicine journey, I saw you in my medicine journey. I did some of your business programs. I didn't really like them. You're a great healer. Why don't you focus on that? To my surprise, he responded, I've actually thought about doing that, but I also really love the business coaching. I'm like, okay, cool. Carry on. I love you. And so that was the moment I kind of stepped into a new way of being, a new way of leadership. And I never really looked back after that. I think there wasn't really a terror around it. I was really excited around like, oh my God, I've got these new tools and they're even more effective than anything I did with coaching. And it was just then a kind of a question of the transition from there into this new space. And I think the moment where I felt the most kind of constriction was when this new vision came through for the company that I have now called Soul Purpose Leaders. And basically like in a breath work experience, actually at a Locus event, I had got this message saying like, your company is now called Soul Purpose Leaders. I'm like, what? I was not talking about the soul. I was an anti-purpose coach. I'd written for 13 years about an understanding of law, which was anti-theistic. I was not a candidate to talk about God, source, any of this, right? But suddenly, it doesn't matter. Like this is what's coming through. So I remember hearing it internally. No, then it repeated straight away, and it's like, okay. And then everything started to be downloaded through as like what I was here to do at that particular moment in time. And so when I then transitioned, and I remember like signing the papers or whatever, doing the legal documentation, I had a Lok's meditation, I Am Courage, in the background, and my body was shaking because I'm like, this is the moment where I transitioned from the intellectual Sam into fully embodied. So that was the real moment that I remember where there was nervousness.
That is such a powerful shift because especially coming from an intellectual background and being a dominant intellectual person myself, the shift from the intellect into embodiment is something I think a lot of people struggle with. And so I'm curious how you stepped into that yourself and perhaps how you help other people go from the mind, into the body and in the heart.
Yeah, like it's been a journey, right? Like a few years ago, I would not describe myself as someone who's embodied. But now it is just like I'm always looking through the lens of the body, through the cells, to see myself, to see other people's parts of what isn't, supporting them, where there's distortion within their field, and you'll get to experience this shortly. But I think it was just literally just progression. And from Antarctica, onwards, before that, it's just been this philosophy of collapsing time. Like the more I had the courage to act on what I saw, the more these just quantum leaps would happen. And I just kept going all in, right? I'm just going all in. And I kept getting the mentorship, which would allow me to create the safety within my system to do this work. Because there were lots of experiences, whether you believe in these kinds of things or not, like past life experiences where I got to experience, oh, okay, like you were killed because of the gifts that you had. And I experienced what that felt like within my system. And then in experiencing it and creating ease within those patternings, that created more calm, which creates more opening within the central column, and that creates more space to be safe. And I didn't appreciate how important safety was initially when I was working through my own journey. Whereas now, like safety is the foundation of like just everything that's being created. Because if you have that, you can build anything. But if you don't have safety, if you're trying to create more wealth, you want to create a strategy which is risky. And I worked with someone who was a crypto expert, and they wanted to do something risky in because of what the boom that could be possible at that time. The first thing we had to do was go into where risk was not safe, right? Couldn't look at money because that was that wasn't where her system was ready yet, right? Like you have to look at where things are at and build the foundation and meet people where they're at. Like if you don't meet the system where it's at, the system will rebel. The system will be like, what the fuck are you trying to do to me? Essentially. And so that's what I've learned. I've learned how imperative that is. And then that allows you to quantum leap. Because if you build those foundations in life, oh my God, then you can put rocket fuel on all of it.
Oh, so good. And I just get to underscore safety. And especially in a society, and for me speaking as a man, that concept is relatively new for me. It's like, oh, I don't feel safe. I actually can name and acknowledge fear or anger or pride that's in the way of me and my quantum leap, in the way of my vision, in the way of my wealth or the love of my life. All of these things aren't necessarily culturally open to acknowledge, wow, in my nervous system, I'm contracting. I feel a sense of the opposite of expansion and openness to these ideas. So that's an incredible foundational insight to acknowledge. And, I think at this point, it's really experiential, right? Because we can talk a lot about the theory and what is, and then actually, give someone an experience is an entirely different ballgame. I hope you're enjoying this conversation. If you've been feeling dysregulated or overwhelmed lately, I want to help. I created a nervous system quiz that gives you a personalized practice that shifts you back to presence, calm, and connection. It's free, takes 5 minutes, and are the exact tools I use myself. Just click the link in the show notes to take it. Now back to the show. And so this brings me back to the first time I got to experience, your magic and your gift in Antarctica. And wow, it was something like I had never experienced before. And so I'm just going to preface that by saying this could get weird. This could get a little bit unusual for anyone listening or even myself. And so I'm open and here for it all. But just my invitation is to be curious and feel this for yourself. And so I'd love to hand the baton to you. And I certainly do have a piece that I'm working with right now in terms
Perfect.
of my inability to receive, and I've recognized a limiting belief in, I wouldn't necessarily, I call it around self-worth, in that I have to earn it. I have to earn the money. I have to earn the worth. I have to prove it, essentially. So that's really been something on my heart and holding me back from my vision. So where would you like to go with that?
Great. So what would you like instead?
I would like clarity and decisiveness in knowing what's here for me in my control and what I can surrender to outside of that.
Beautiful. Okay, great. So if you're listening to this, what I'm going to invite you to do is to close your eyes. And I really want you to get connected with your intention. It could be similar to Andrew's. It could be something different. But know that the frequencies that are going to be brought forward are for you. I'm going to call in energetic support, not just for Andrew, but for everyone who's listening now and into the future. Because when we call that, we're calling it the safety. Like whether you believe or not, we have a team of people who are guiding us and protecting us. Whether we're listening to them or not, that's another thing. So we want to call in that support. Then we want to call in this clarity and this decisiveness for Andrew. And I invite you to call in what you want to experience. The way this is going to work is I'm going to bring through a sound, which is going to almost sound like it comes from like below the crust of the earth. And then it's going to reach a higher and higher resonance. And hopefully with the recording setup, it won't distort too much, but the transmission should still come through, even if there is some sort of popping and what. So just invite you to be with that, right? Because this isn't about perfection. This is about experiencing what's there within your system and allowing that to guide you. And as I worked with Andrew, I will look to guide you both, right? As to how we can bring this in. This is not just a passive experience. So I invite you to close your eyes. So anyone who knows is in the highest good of Andrew Newton and anyone who is listening now and into the future, I invite you to be here now. Any spiritual guides, any ascended masters, anyone who knows in the highest good of Andrew and everyone else listening, I invite you to be here now. Anyone who knows in the highest good of Andrew Newton and everyone who's listening, and Sam Kukathas, I invite you to be here now. So we can support not just Andrew, but every one of you to step into this new ease and flow in your life so you can let go of any distortion that is ready to be let go of in this moment. So for Andrew, that we can step into this new level of decisiveness, this new level of clarity, this new level of worth that you want to experience, so you can let go of needing to prove anything in this life and you can earn at the capacity that you're ready and wanting to receive. So you can step into this new level of receivership so that all that is ready to come through can come through. So I'm going to bring through this sound now. Just allow what wants to come through to be experienced. Andrew, what's present? What are you experiencing this moment?
I experienced quite a lot of, call it cellular buzzing and tingling, down my right side and through my legs,
Mm-hmm.
and just this word and phrase kept coming up, of glory. Glory
Mm,
was really what just kept coming up. Glory to the highest, glory to God was what
mm.
came through in my into my mind.
Beautiful. So keep your eyes closed, keep going deeper. We want to get out of the conscious mind. And, you asked me, like, how do you take people from a mind to the embodied state? Well, when we close our eyes, we're really just creating that space. So we don't have to be stimulated by everything which is going on in the room and everything else, so that we can really drop in, build that safety within our nervous system. So what I want you to do now is, it's beautiful what you shared about that expansion, and we'll come back to that expansion. Don't worry about that. But I want to go into the spaces where there's actually something that wants to be seen that hasn't fully been acknowledged and seen. So I invite you to feel into, Andrew, anything which is there around worth, anything which is there around feeling like you have to earn it, anything which is there around what you feel is holding you back from what it is you're actually looking to experience, looking to create. And as I work with Andrew, I want you to do the same. It may be that there's a similar thread that you want to experience. It may be something else. Look at what's relevant to you and allow that to be your guide. Andrew, what do you notice in your body when you get connected with that?
Yeah, I feel a grief all along, kind of underneath my chest,
Perfect.
in my lungs, perhaps, in
Okay,
there.
good. What would you describe as the intensity? If you were giving that a number on a scale of 0 to 10, what would be the intensity?
Um, say a tension level of about 4 or 5.
Perfect. And when you feel into this energy, do you have a sense of how old is it? Does it feel like it's something from your lifetime? Does it feel like it's ancient, or a combination?
The word came up for me as ancient.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
you may have a sense of how old the energy is, you may not. But I'm going to bring through a sound frequency now, which is looking to embody this ancient energy and just allow what wants to be experienced to be experienced. Andrew, it feels a little bit lighter and like almost like something just dropped down. But what are you experiencing in your body?
It felt like, as you were bringing through that tone, it was almost like a pushing out of that area. It
Hmm.
was like it was coming into there and wanting to
Yeah,
exhale almost.
perfect. What's the intensity of that space now? I think you said it was a 4 before. What does it feel like now?
Yeah. I would say a 2, maybe a 3.
Beautiful. Okay, great. So what I want you to do is there anywhere there's kind of a small space or a little lightness or a tingling which is opening up within your system?
Yeah, I mean, I have a spaciousness in my, call it gut center, my hara, my center.
Beautiful.
Um, yeah,
Perfect.
that's very available.
So what I invite you to do now, both Andrew and for anyone who's listening, is to really connect in with love for this energy. I want you to pour your love into anywhere you feel more spaciousness and really allow your compassion for everything this energy has experienced up till now, this gratitude for everything that it has given you, but allowing it to come into this moment and to transmute so that it can connect in with what it's truly here to be, so it can choose a new form. So I'm connecting in with this frequency of love now. Andrew, what's present?
Uh, it's a it's almost like a dip, a drop into grief, and then bringing up to, say, like a laughter or a joy. I'm able to feel the spectrum of both.
Mm, beautiful. So when you feel into that laughter and joy, where do you feel that in the body?
It's definitely a rising, yeah, heart space and into the throat and jaw and chest.
Good, beautiful. And when you feel into the part which still wants to be seen, that ancient part, where does that still reside?
It's definitely a softening in this area here.
Yep,
Um,
perfect.
and yeah, just noticing some burps wanting to come out.
Perfect.
And
So let's just allow that to be there. I just want you to breathe into that. And we want to take that to another level. We're going to take it to a deeper level this time. We're going to combine both the energy of this ancient energy, but also anything which might be connected to now. So I'm going to look to kind of bring through a sound which almost has a sense of safety, which is built into it. It could also represent the grief. Okay. Felt like it let go, Andrew, but what are you experiencing?
there was a beautiful moment of it. It felt like a cradling, like a holding of that part, and then
Mm,
just a softening in
mm,
that space.
beautiful. So let's again connect in with this love for this part. And does this part still feel like it's ancient, or does it feel like it's a younger part of you?
Younger now. Yeah.
Good. What age do you feel?
The number comes up about 3, maybe?
Perfect. Perfect. So I invite all of you to connect in with this younger part that might be also part here for you and really allow yourself to create that tenderness for that to be experienced. When we allow each of these parts of us to be welcome rather than resisting them or wishing they were otherwise, it creates the space for them to be honored. And when we create the space for them to be honored, we can actually transmute that energy much more easily. So I want you to tune in, Andrew. And what's the emotion that's there for this younger part of you, this 3-year-old part of you at this moment?
It's a mix of sadness and also very playful.
Beautiful. And that's great, right? Because we are a combination of all of these different parts. The sadness is wanting to be experienced, the playfulness is wanting to be experienced, and we're just allowing all of it to be welcome in this moment. So let's allow that sadness to be really welcome.
Mm.
Feels a bit clearer to me, but what are you experiencing, Andrew?
Yeah, there's I feel a lightness. I received uh, some visuals, and it just felt like almost like an ancient lullaby through your voice that was just a very soothing and welcoming presence to that part.
Beautiful. Is there any tension in your body in this moment?
The tension in my, I'll say, in that sort of rib
Mhm.
area is much relieved,
Mhm.
and I do feel some tension in the shoulders.
Good. How does that feel?
I'd say that one's probably like a 7 to 10.
Good. What emotions is that part of you feeling?
A lot of anger and frustration, a lot of burdening and forcing.
Yeah. Very, very common. This is the energy that most CEOs are holding. So let's just allow space for this. And if this is an energy that you relate to, just really create space for this to be experienced. And know that wherever we get to is perfect, right? We don't always have to just delete, fix. This is not about that. We're just experiencing what's there to create more space for everything that wants to come through and be received in this moment. What are you feeling, Andrew?
It's almost like a drip down my shoulders, through my arms and out and through my hands.
Mm. What's the intensity of that drip?
It's a subtle feeling, um, maybe a 2 or a 3.
Perfect. So let's call in love now for this part, right? This 7 to 10-year-old part of you. And again, for each of you, really allow that love in for this part of you so we can experience this. Wherever there's more space, wherever there's more lightness, that's the part which I want you to allow that love in for. What are you noticing, Andrew?
There was a breath in through like the back right side of my heart space that
Mm-hmm.
just, almost felt like a popping and space between the right side of my chest and my
Mm,
back.
mm. Good. What did that allow?
It's a letting go of shouldering a burden all on my own.
Beautiful. That that is the key. That is the essence of it. So now let's activate this part of you that's ready to let go and ease in to this new flow, that is able to be supported, able to receive support as you've bravely chosen to do on your own podcast. I acknowledge you for stepping into that in this moment. What's coming through you, Andrew?
Yeah, there's a lightness about me, and this almost a mantra came through. I am the love that I am. That kept
Beautiful.
kind of just repeating on its own.
And what does that allow?
Pure possibility.
So let's
Yeah, from
finish
that
up now.
place. Mhm.
So I cut you off. What did you say? Pure
No,
possibility.
yeah, pure possibility. Beautiful.
So let's activate this pure possibility in all of you now, creating this remembrance of the possibility that's been waiting to just pour through you. You chose this moment to listen to this. It's not an accident that you're listening to this if you're listening to this. Trust me about that. What's coming through, Andrew?
I feel quite a lot of yeah, there's just quite a lot of pain in that spot that opened up.
Mm,
So I'm being with that, welcoming
mm.
that.
What's the intensity of the pain?
That's about a 6, maybe or a 7.
Yeah. And where does it come from?
I think it comes from conforming into a shape or a person that wasn't, uniquely me.
Sure. And how old does that feel?
Yeah, that's like a 7-ish. Yeah, still pretty young.
Good. And I want you to know we might not transmute all of this right now because after all, we are doing a podcast. But I want to create a bit more space for a couple more minutes, if for those listeners, to both go on this journey with us, but also to create space for Andrew. So we're not leaving him in this space where he's in that deep pain. Okay. So thank you for staying with us in this moment, this very tender moment for Andrew. And I'll know that you're still receiving in this moment too. Again, it felt kind of like a drop down, but what do you feel?
Glorious, man. Like it's like I took just a bite of light, like a light sandwich. Just wow, I feel very, very, very light. Thank you for taking me and us on that journey, Sam,
Yeah,
and giving your gifts so freely.
you're welcome, man. If you got some water next to you, I recommend having a sip in this moment.
Cheers.
So that's a taste, right? It's just a taste of neuro-resonance optimization. We moved through some spaces. We experienced some of what was there for Andrew. And hopefully for you, you got to experience some of the energy which is stored within your cellular system and created some more space. Maybe it's going to support you in actually activating and creating more of what you want. Whatever you've done so far, you can obviously come back and listen to this recording. That's the beauty of this being a podcast, and really see what wants to sit with you newly. Because as you listen, you'll experience a new experience. You may actually feel like, oh, there was this tension the last time I listened, but now there's no tension about that particular thing if you chose the same thing. Or you might choose a different intention. It's like, oh, this is what I'm feeling now. So really allow this to be a gift for you. I don't do this kind of length of, session essentially almost within a podcast. Usually it's like 5 minutes max. So take advantage of this, right? Take advantage of the opportunity that's here, that you have chosen to receive this and to step into this vibration more and more, because the more you do that, the more your cells will align, the more your reality will align with it.
Beautifully said, Sam. And thank you for that gift. Again, this is private work that Sam does with visionary leaders, CEOs, and entrepreneurs. So we're getting a really special taste and experience of true magic and what I like to call the true tone coming through Sam. So first and foremost, thank you. And I'd like to invite the listeners to kind of bring in the mind at this point and help people understand maybe perhaps what that was in the context of neuro-resonance optimization.
Absolutely. So I'm not a neuroscientist, but I've talked to neuroscientists about my work to better understand how we could give some language to it. And the two different ones that have given me useful language. So I'm going to use both of them. So one is this idea that what's happening, and the reason, like when we hit those piercing notes, what often happens is the distillation of the mind for people. So they can get to a point, often like what we call a 0 point unified field of consciousness, where the mind is no longer active or present, which creates this deeper space. So we're bypassing the cognitive mind, is what I've been told. Then we are hitting the emotional centers of the brain. And then we're connecting in with the autonomic nervous system to build the safety that's needed within your nervous system. And then from there, we're also bypassing what's called the cortical, which is the kind of control mechanism. And how I understand that is this is part of what's allowing us to collapse time, because we're in that deep surrender space. And from that, it allows us to recalibrate at this very fast rate, but with safety being built in as a foundation. So it doesn't feel rushed, even though it's happening very, very quickly, which is why like grief could feel like it's disappeared within minutes, even though it's been stored there for 30 years or anciently, right? So that's really what's going on. And as we go into this process, it's really about we're creating. And from the space of creating, we're looking at what's there that wants to be experienced, the thoughts, the recurring beliefs, the fears, the concerns, all of that. And as you experience all of it, each piece gets to transmute. And we're creating this integration between those parts of you and the parts of you that hadn't been acknowledged. So we're creating more wholeness, essentially more coherence within your whole nervous system, within all of the cells within your body, right? We're realigning the structures of your being in this moment. And then we're activating this remembrance of what wants to come through so that we can connect in with those big visions. So when you have this huge vision for humanity, which the leaders that I work with do, we can really support them because they need that support, right? They feel like that Andrew was feeling. They felt that shouldering, the burden. It's all up to them. They can't have support. They have teams, but they don't have support. This is a distinction, right? You could have a lot of teams of people around you and you can feel like it's all on you. So it's about how do we create yourselves to understand that it's no longer that. And that's what we can do. And that's what we're starting to do there for Andrew, to him to recalibrate. But as you noticed, even at the end, even though he was in the space of pure possibility, the activation of what he wanted actually still created some constriction and some pain, right? So there was something which had to be shown and experienced in that moment at a deeper level for him to be able to move to that point where he's in that true tone, where he's in that lightness of being that you can see right now and that shine that's coming through him.
I must admit, I feel like I'm tea drunk or light on that true tone. So bear with me while we close out. But that was truly beautiful. And what I received in such a gentle way beyond the actual tone that came through was just a welcoming, a loving presence that you hold and allowing for the parts of constriction to meet parts of openness and lightness and combine into more love. And that was beautiful facilitation, not just bringing through your gifts, but also acknowledging all of those parts. So, hats off to you for that. And for those who might not be able to experience your work one-on-one, although this podcast will be available to return to, you've created this platform called Resonance OS, and I've had an amazing sneak peek at the insides of this. Can you tell people what that has to offer and how people can rewire their nervous system in 15 minutes a day?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, there are so many busy leaders in the world, and they also, feel like they just don't have enough time to get everything done. I often think of the leader Stephen Bartlett, who's someone I'm inspired by his way of being. But I remember listening about like 12 hours a day of doing podcasts, and he's getting recalibration when he's on his flights. And I was like, if you had Stephen, like, what would you create for someone like that, right? Someone who at time is really of the essence. So that's what I had in mind when I created this initial experience called Unlock Flow. And what surprised me was the depth in which people would experience in such a short period of time, where they would go into an experience a bit like what Andrew did. But what's happening is we're just dropping them into, like, you create your intention. The app will support you with all of it, essentially. Like, the platform is guiding you to choose what's this? Is this for flow? Is this for sleep? Is this for creative ideation? Is this for stress regulation? Whatever it is. And then it's going to generate intentions so you don't have to think about it, or you can create your own. And then it's going to move you through a flow, which is going to take you through that kind of journey. Then it's going to take you into, like, being able to integrate that really into your life, into your journals, into real world impact, looking at what are the different ways in which this is impacting you. But the point of this is to really activate peak performance as well as creating this nervous system coherence so that we can collapse time, right? Every single day. People often talk to me and they'll say, oh, I ask them, what are you experiencing? They say, freedom. I'm like, okay, we're not trying to create freedom, but when you clear what's in the way, freedom is often the byproduct of what people are experiencing. So my process and thinking is essentially, what would it be like if people got to experience that freedom every day, right? And not in a really like heavy duty way. Like, there's an intensity for sure still to this, right? And I've built in another program called Neuro-Resonance to build that foundation of safety, especially for those who might not have done the breath work, might not have done the psychedelics, might not have done the energy healing, and where the first experience could be super intense for them comparatively if they just got dropped in. And so I've built that in, and by the time this releases, there'll be a lot more parts to this platform, right? Because the vision of this is really for us to be able to, how can we transmute every challenge of the human condition? That's the game that I've set myself, right? This is what I do from health to wealth in my private work, in the facilitations that I do. But can we bring that level of impact into this space? Now, I'm not saying we can replicate what we do with a private person, but can we still make that level of difference that people can activate and remember who they are so they can be empowered to step into these lives of freedom and to really love their lives and to create from a space of ease and flow? So that's the intention of this, right? And so you'll get to experience being able to recalibrate. And even when I was doing some recording in a sound studio the other day, like the videographer was saying like she was finding it difficult to record because she was shaking because there was so much energy moving through her while she was doing it. So often she just do like 5, 7, 20-second clips, probably to keep the camera steady. So, and she was saying afterwards, she feels so relaxed. So as a baseline, no matter what we're looking is for you to experience this deep level of renewal, this real sense of vitality in yourselves. I often call it like a facelift for the soul. Like there are often when I would get onto calls and I'd show this to people, they would be like, they might have a little small voice beforehand. And then suddenly like their face comes alive and it's like I'm speaking to a different person in the room, right? So this is what we're looking to do. We're restoring resonance into your system, so that you can be the boldest version of who you want to be in the world from a space of alignment.
Such a big and inspiring vision, Sam. I love it. And then bringing it to the everyday. I love the integrity that you're taking to build a foundation of safety and then open up to these larger activations. So I cannot wait to personally experience this app more. And it's such a gift to be able to promote and support your mission. And I'd love to, as we kind of land the plane here, ask, what is a vision, a dream, a prayer that you're living into, perhaps that you've been holding for years or even decades that hasn't come into realization yet?
Yeah, like I think it's captures a lot of what I just shared, to be honest, Andrew. Like it's really imagining that all the boats could rise for humanity, right? When I was in Antarctica, we stepped off the ship in Antarctica and I met someone who'd come from Cordoba on an 8-hour bus ride to meet me in Alok, and never met the guy in my life. But I was like, if he's going to travel 8 hours for spend us 2 days with me in Buenos Aires, I'm going to pour into him. I'm going to really bring what I can. And, we did a session around wealth and we brought in one of his friends. And I remember like the lack of possibility that was there for her, particularly before, and then seeing the way that this energy just got to transmute and to see them step into that possibility, right? To see that that was for them as well, that, whatever the system had showed them in the past, whatever their experience had been, it didn't mean that that reality had to continue to be that way. And what I'm looking to do, and part of what I'm looking to bring into the platform is a recalibration of wealth experience, right? Because what I've become known for is to be able to clear wealth ceilings like with such speed and to activate then huge visions of what people want to come. People often embodying billion-dollar visions in these sessions with me. So it's like, all right, how can we bring this opportunity to dream into coherence within people's systems, no matter where they come from in the planet? That's my vision for this, right? It's to create a space for people to be able to dream, to be empowered, to create that space of freedom and to remember who they truly are and why they came here.
Such a beautiful vision, man. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your gifts. If folks wanted to connect with you, get to know your offerings, what's the best place to do that?
Yeah, so resonanceos.ai is our platform for the app that I've just described. My company is called Soul Purpose Leaders. Soul as in your soul, not the sole of your foot. And it's soulpurposeleaders.com. And then you can find me. If you type in Sam Kukathas into Google, there's only one in the world. So you will be able to find any other way that there is out there by that time to get in contact.
There truly is only one, and it's been an honor to have you on, my Antarctic adventure buddy. Until next time, thank you so much for being here. Gentlemen, ladies, God bless you and go live your life. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the Vital Path podcast. If you found value in today's episode, share the love with someone who comes to mind. It's free, they'll appreciate it, and together we'll keep this community growing. Until next time, God bless you and go live your life.